Good morning, I'm Rick Marchiori, and today we're going to go over some fundamentals of presentation skills. Before I get started though, how many of you get a little bit nervous before public speaking? Yeah, quite a few of you. Well, you've got a lot of company. Public speaking is still the #1 fear people have. Notice what's 6th on the list. According to Jerry Seinfeld, people would rather be in the casket than delivering the eulogy. Let's talk about eyes. Let me ask you, when you're doing a presentation, where do you think you're supposed to look?
Out in the audience.
Out in the audience. And we want to look in the audience in such a way that we include everyone. So what we'll do sometimes is we'll start on one side of the room, scan across the other side, and scan back so everyone feels involved. But there's a downside to scanning. Let me share that with you. Scanning puts you in a position where your eyes become overly stimulated, leads to nervousness, gets in the way of our thinking. Think about the situation the speaker is in. Standing in front of a large group of people, and they're scanning the audience, and they're being bombarded with a lot of visual input. Colors, motions, people's faces. All of a sudden, they lose focus. Once they lose focus, the nervousness kicks in, and then they forget what to say. So let me share with you a technique to help control that nervousness and make you more effective with a group, and that's one thought to one person. Let's say I'm talking to Bill, and I'll stay with Bill, focused on him for the time it takes me to deliver a thought. The rest of the room is blocked out, and I'm having a one-on-one conversation for approximately 5 seconds. I'll complete that thought with Bill, pause, and go to Joe. I'll speak with Joe, again blocking out the rest of the audience, leading then to another conversation. Now, what's nice about this technique is that you're tricking yourself into thinking you're having one-on-one conversations instead of this big, nervous public presentation. It then turns out to be a series of one-on-one conversations. Where do you start? Probably at the back of the room. Look at one person, and the upside is all those people in your line of sight also think you're speaking to them and them alone. Now, let's talk about getting nervous in front of a group, physically how that might show up. We've seen people that feel nervous, they look nervous, to the point that we're reaching out with empathy and trying to save them from this terrible presentation. Unfortunately, at the end of the presentation, we don't remember much of what they said. So let me share with you some of the things to avoid doing physically when up in front of a group. We've got the executive fig leaf, hands together, hands in the pockets, Velcro arms, weight shifting, and SeaWorld gestures. And what does he mean by all those things? Executive fig leaf is, person stands up there, has hands locked right in front. Or reverse executive fig leaf, sometimes called the hostage position. Secondly, hands together can take several forms. Sometimes the hands are folded back and forth. Sometimes they take the prayer position. And sometimes we see the itsy-bitsy spider. But in any case, those hands are stuck front center and don't gesture effectively enough to really support the message. Hands in the pockets. What happens if your hands in the pockets for a big presentation comes across a little too casually? And then we've got Velcro arms, where the arms are just stuck right here. And as excited as I am about this initiative, Bill, I really want you to take a look at it. Why don't you come on, we'll have a conversation, and I'll show you how these sales are going up. Stuck right in the phone booth. Again, doesn't really support the message and the intent of what we want the audience to hear. Weight shifting. Sometimes you'll see a speaker with their weight on their right foot. Inevitably, what's going to happen is they'll fatigue and shift to the left foot. Go back and forth. Sometimes we see speakers pacing back and forth, turning out to be a moving target very tough to get a connection with a moving target. So now we have SeaWorld gestures. Hands are stuck below the belt, and we're talking, and we're flapping along in our presentation, but it's really not creating much meaning. So now that I've taken away all of your options for public speaking, what do you do? Well, first, let's take a balanced stance. By that I mean feet about shoulder width apart. Limit the motion. We want all the energy to be coming from the ground up, above the waist, and out to the audience. Gestures, instead of being contained in the center here, wristy, handy gestures, we want the hands above the waist and away from the body. In this arena, bigger is better. If I'm doing a one-on-one presentation and I'm all over the map, that can be intimidating. But here, big is okay. So those are some of the fundamentals that I was glad to share with you about public speaking today. The best way to make these skills permanent, stand in front of a mirror, practice them, get with a partner, get some feedback. You'll see that practice will make some improvement. Thank you very much.